What up? This is Enrique saying what's up. I haven't shared in a little while, and I have been practicing a few things, namely my art, namely also just the courage to share. Really, part of the process is getting out of your own way, getting out of my own way. And with the state of the world, I'm not going to stop recording. I'm going to let this roll and practice being uncomfortable, because that is the lesson in this season of my life. I'm going to pause as I speak. I feel that there's this incessant need to rush communication at times, because the world is, well, not the world, but us as humans and the systems that we've created move at such a fast pace. And I see it in the presence or lack thereof with other people. I am a personal trainer. I transitioned out of bartending and hospitality, which I was in for the last 10 years. Health and wellness has kind of always been my through line in life. It's been what I come back to when I need to connect to myself. So for quite some time, I thought about what that would be like. And I stopped thinking about what it would be like. And I took action. I left the bar scene and decided to personal train. And along that path, I stopped creating and stopped sharing in this way, intentionally, partly also because I believe that as artists, we go through seasons of gathering and seasons of sharing. And funny enough, a bar guest put me onto that perspective. And I've never forgotten that. And so part of this dynamic is also showing and sharing that you can move at your own pace. And doing so allows for you to spend time with your process. That being said, there's a lot that I want to do in this life, and sometimes it's difficult not to feel like there's not enough time. And I truly believe there is enough time to do all the things. It is about intentionality and positionality. Where are you placing your focus, or allowing your focus, right? I've always enjoyed the perspective that thoughts are likened to matter. The more you think about a thought, the more it expands, and then eventually the more real it becomes until it manifests into this 3D. And so I've been doing that a lot with art. And that's interesting in that art doesn't make itself. So you can think all this shit up, but you've got to sit down and do it. And I've done that too, just at a slower pace, because everything in this life has been created. Somebody had a thought and said, hey, let's make boxes to live in and other ones to work in and travel to and from both, right? And we do that. It's a collective agreement. And the agreement that I have found works best for me is to do this in seasons. Don't get me wrong, the 75-day hard or 75 soft or whatever the case may be is cool. I just find it doesn't work for me. And so that's what this is sharing what works. And I also share with the perspective that you take everything that I say and do and show with a grain of salt, right? I think a lot of people come onto platforms and there is this matter of fact. And if it's research and science, okay, right? Facts and figures, that's one thing. But opinion, perspective, I'm one perspective. So by no means when I share do I intend or believe that the way that I view things is the way that everybody should. I'm one perspective. I'm one life. And I do believe that we're all expressions of God, of Source, of whatever word you want to use to describe the Most High. Use that. I use Source, I use God, I use Divinity, I use Creator. It's whatever comes to me when I'm speaking. Off top, I'm not somebody that's religious or affiliated, though if somebody wants to have a conversation specifically about the Bible and God in that context, we can discuss that. That's totally fine. What has been resonant for me and what my journey has called me to find coherence in is spirituality and understanding nature and history and my Mexican roots as my baseline. And that doesn't necessarily have a whole lot to do with religion. So there's that. Yeah. And any questions that y'all have, if there's any, more than happy to tap in. I want my art to be a reflection of me, and it is, inevitably, right? But part of that is the ability to be fluid in my thought process, in my movement. One of the reasons I'm a personal trainer is because my background in soccer really taught me the ability to be fluid in my body, right? Soccer is a game of thought and strategy, and it's also a game of flow. I had a coach in college who told me, or who would tell the team always, how can you play and not think about the game? You have to think about the game. You can't just not think. And so the skills allow you to play, and the thinking and the strategy, once those work together, then allow you to be in flow. But you need both, right? And that flow of thinking and strategy and the skill set allowed for dynamic play. But you need both. And now there's this strategy of creating and sharing art. And in conversation and in the things that I share, I would also, and they will also be dynamic in that regard. So when I started this, I said 52 weeks of sharing. Not every week is going to look the same, and I don't want them to. So if you're expecting the same thing, ultimately I am doing this for myself, and I'm doing this to connect with other people that are not just like-minded, but different, right? Because great minds don't think alike, they think differently, and maybe there are some values that are shared. But I don't want to think the same way you think. That's boring. Teach me, and I'll do the same, or try to. Okay, well, now that that's been shared and released, if you're still here, thank you. I appreciate it. This first poem was inspired by somebody at the bar that I was working at here in Highland Park, Nativo. Somebody that I hadn't seen for a while, and they asked, "Where have you been?" For context, I had taken a break from bartending, and as I've transitioned into personal training and becoming a full-time personal trainer, private clients along with private clients along with clients in the gym, part of supplementing that process was still bartending here and there. Though it took me a while, probably took me 6 months after I left the bar initially to come back to a space where I was dealing with spirits and making cocktails. That's just what I needed. I needed a break from all of it. If you have been in hospitality, then you know that it can be a lot. And so I took a fast from the bar and from drinking and all the things. So that's what this is inspired by. And it's called, Where Have You Been? Where have you been? I've been creating more and consuming less, exploring the depths of my belief systems, thought patterns, and traumas, tapping into my spirituality. I've been processing collective grief as well as my own, mourning the versions of self I chose to become to survive. I've been witnessing the collapse of systems as my own internal processes also ask for evolution and transmutation. The old ways no longer serve what's asking to be born. I've been sitting in silence, journaling, meditating, practicing obedience to the Most High. I've been honoring my boundaries, choosing a loving consciousness in my relations and in myself, lifting weights and writing poetry, making love to life, living my way. I've been uplifted and recognized by a small community of chosen kin. Blood couldn't make us closer. I've also been learning that I shine brightest in the dark. I've been birthing who I've always known myself to be. I've been so that I could be, and now I am. I am. Just being, I am. Thank you. Con amor.